Hello, in this video, I'll be speaking about how to find and live your purpose and why it is that you might be having such a difficult time finding it. This video is for you if you feel that you're here for a reason. You're here in this body at this time, living this life because you have a mission to accomplish. You have something here to do. Or maybe you have some knowing or some knowledge that this is a profoundly critical time here on planet Earth, and that somehow you're here to contribute to the birth of an entirely new era on the planet. So welcome, I'm Daniel Piatek, and I help you to live the life you're meant to live by freeing yourself from unseen conditioning and the unresolved trauma of the past. So many of my clients and students, in some way, have some sense that they're here for a reason. There's something they're meant to be doing. There's something they're supposed to do. Sometimes they'll say it like, it feels like there's more to me in here and I just don't know what it is or where it is or how to get to it. So in my life, from the time I was about in my mid-20s, somehow I just had this deep sense that I have a mission here. And that word, for some reason, was the word that stuck. I have a mission. Didn't know what the heck it was or where to find it or how this even made sense in how I'd been taught to think about life. And it's something that drove me for years and years, a lot of times wondering if I'm making mistakes in my life. How am I ever going to find it? Be doing something, job, new situation, or new period of my life. And there was just a sense of this isn't it. Sometimes with clients, this sense that there's something here for them to do only begins to emerge after they've resolved the trauma that they came to me to help deal with. After they've extricated themselves from abusive situations and actually have the time, space, and the connection with themselves that they feel like there's something here for me. So we're going to talk today about some of the reasons why you might be having a difficult time finding it and how to go about finding your purpose. So make sure to stay to the end of the video where I'll share with you something that you can actually begin to do practically toward unleashing your purpose. So the first thing I'd like to talk about today is something that I shared with you in my story, which is having this sense of urgency about what it is I'm meant to do. And sometimes this can turn into a sense of helplessness or hopelessness. How am I ever going to find it? First of all, I want to validate why it might be feeling so important to you, because there is a reason why you're here at this time. We're at this moment in the grand history of the earth, at this time of an epochal change, a time of a changing of an entire era. So this is spoken about from many different traditions, spiritual and otherwise, around the planet for many, many, many centuries, about this time of a great change. If you look around now, you see it in the world very practically, which is ways of life, ways of being, institutions, all of the things that you took for granted that this is how life worked, suddenly are all up for question. This is by design, because the old is dying, the old is falling away, so that the new ways of being, in fact, even a new human can come into this world. Now, this may take many decades, in fact, maybe a century or two, for this big turning over of an old way of being here on this planet, old ways, and new can be born. And you might be feeling that urgency because, whether you know it consciously or not, you chose to be here now at this time to birth something specific into this space where the old is falling away and there's space for something new to be implanted into the way of life, the way of being here. And you brought some particular seed here to be sown at this time. Oftentimes, we can get lost in that sense of, I must, where is it, what is, and it pushes us to look in the wrong place, which is my second thing I wanted to talk about. We're often looking in the wrong place, meaning we're looking out there. We don't necessarily know yet that we have everything we need in here. So we look around trying to find, where do I fit in? Where is my place? And often for a lot of us, where are my people? Why do I feel so all alone here? So the right place to begin looking is in here. We came into this incarnation, into this life, as a complete package. We have everything we need in here, whatever that means. In here, we have the instructions. We have our own GPS system. We have our own map. We have our own compass. We have, to use the metaphor, the coordinates already programmed in of what it is, of where it is, of who it is we're meant to be. We have it all in here. Now, what do we do with that? I'll start to address that at the end to give you some place to start. But one of the main reasons I want to bring up about why it's so important to not be looking out there to find out how we are supposed to be, and I mean even out there to a lot of spiritual teachings that are telling you this, that, and the other thing of how you're supposed to be. And I'm going to suggest that we look first here. And that may take some guidance, some help to begin to understand how to do that. But the reason this is so important is that many of us are here to bring in solutions to problems that most people don't even recognize are problems, let alone in need of a solution. We're here to bring entirely new perspectives, skills, abilities, capacities, perspectives, ways of seeing, ways of thinking. And for this, we have to begin to learn to come inside, because the instructions are in here. Therefore, what there is to do is that we need to learn the skills, the tools for how to unlock all of this stuff inside of ourselves. How to take off the limits that the rational mind imposes on our ability to make sense. Struggle with the parts of us that always want to have everything known and begin to explore more in these realms where we don't already know. And slowly, we begin to unleash ever expanded, ever deep, ever wise expressions of that unlimited self that we already are. Great. So if you're finding this video helpful, please pause for a moment and just give it a like. I'd appreciate that. So point number 3 is, in terms of your purpose, your mission, why you're here, part of the reason why it could be so hard is it isn't you who's going to be fulfilling it. What are you talking about, old man? So your mission, your purpose, it's actually not you that's going to be fulfilling it. What do I mean by that? For those of you that are doing personal work that is developmental in nature, and you understand the idea of human development, adult human development over time, and this sense of who we are changes over time. Or maybe from a spiritual perspective, expanding our consciousness, these kinds of ideas, freeing ourselves from conditioning and the limitations of our belief systems, limitations of old trauma, etc. This might make some more sense to you. So basically, the version of us, I'm going to speak about it first person just to make it simple. The version of me that for so many years was looking around for my purpose, my mission. What is it? What is it? First of all, was looking out there in the world. I was driven by a sense of urgency that made it so that I wasn't really able to, to actually stop it and listen and tune in. It was just the sense of, at times it was kind of like panic. I'm going to leave this life and blow it. It was very strong for me, maybe for you too. But that version of me and the versions of me, even as I move forward, spending 10 years in a spiritual community, meditating and doing work with the Landmark organization and ever expanding versions of myself. I finally started dealing with the trauma that was held in my body, and I was being freed slowly of the effects of past trauma from earlier in this life, from past lives, being able to start see a lot of the belief systems that were operating me, becoming aware much more of my inner critic. All of these things started to fall away from me, which had all been these lenses that I had been seeing life through. And I was becoming a different person over time. Still am, hopefully. It's these ever expanding versions of ourselves, that deeper us in us, able to freely move and act in the world through us. It is that us that is going to fulfill our purpose. That's what I mean, because oftentimes we may get glimpses or a sense of what our purpose is, but it just feels too big, too much. Who the hell am I, et cetera, et cetera. And it can actually take great comfort in knowing that this version of you is not the you that's going to be fulfilling it, and that your job now is to keep expanding into that version of you who actually came in to do the work. So therefore, I'm going to propose to you something that's very simple and very straightforward, and in the end, it's doable now, which is, I'm going to ask you to consider that your purpose is to free that deeper self. I call it our unique genius. Your purpose is to free that version of you that knows what the hell it's doing here. So this is very real for me. It's the work I do with clients. And I see it with people. This is not just hollow words. There is a version of us, to give it words, the authentic self, true self, higher self, Christ self, etc., that is us, already whole, already perfect, already complete, pure, perfect, pristine, us, me, here. And my job is to do what it is I learned to do, I know to do, to free me from all of the conditioning and all of the trauma that operates me without me even necessarily knowing it, that keeps me in this contracted, limited state. And as we do that work, there's parts of ourselves that begin to show up that surprise us. Like, I didn't know I could be that way. I didn't know I knew that. I didn't know I knew how to do that. Before I share with you what it is that you can start doing now, I'm going to ask you to please consider sharing this video with someone you think would find this useful. I would appreciate that, and hopefully they will as well. So now, something that you can actually begin to do to help yourself to free that unique genius in you. Unique genius knows what it's doing, knows what the mission is, knows how to get there, knows how to accomplish it, etc., etc., etc. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is just take a few minutes, maybe 5 or 10 if you need it, and stop and ask yourself, maybe write these down. What are the things in my life, either out there, in here, the things that I struggle with, the things that seem like they're wrong or shouldn't be this way? The things that you're also maybe working hard to try to change. Write them all down. All those things that you think are wrong, shouldn't be here, it's a problem, they're in your way, etc. Write them down. Now, why? So part of my teaching of practical mysticism, I'll say that the symptom is the doorway to the solution. It's similar to many Eastern approaches to health and wellness. This idea that the symptom that shows up is basically healing trying to happen. So those things that you're going to write down, I'm going to ask you to think of them as symptoms, and that they're there, they're happening because it is healing trying to happen. It is health. It is trying to move you forward in the direction that you're meant to go, instead of this junk that's in my way, that's a pain in my butt. That's fair enough to want to have those things out of your life. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be necessarily at all. But I'm going to ask you to stop and approach them like, okay, if this is happening because it's trying to help me, it's trying to move me in a direction that is in my favor, trying to move me in the direction that I'm meant to go. How might I see this? What might it be trying to show me that's trying to help me, as opposed to, hey, get it the heck out of here, right? So just take a little bit of time to do that and see what opens up for you. See what opens up for you. You can use your brain, because we got brains and they're here to help us, but also expand and just kind of approach this with a sense of curiosity. I wonder, and maybe leave this as an open question for a while and see what begins to start to emerge, maybe as you're doing the dishes or taking a shower. It's like, oh, wow, I never thought of that. Start paying attention, because that unique genius in us, that wisdom all around us, is speaking to us all the time. So I make videos to guide and inspire people to help to free themselves from limitation in all its forms, so that they can be who they were meant to be, so that you can be who you were meant to be. I call it practical mysticism. And I show you how to allow wisdom, love, God, source, universe, etc., to guide you in freeing your unique genius, your individual spark of the divine that you already are inside of you, that knows what it's doing and is here to bring something to the world. Now, how do you do this? By learning how to view all of the stuff that happens all day long in your life through different lenses. Just like what it is that I'm offering to you to do to help to free some things up to help you to move forward in unlocking your purpose. I'm going to suggest that this is our purpose, to free that within us that already knows what the heck we're doing here. Just like that. So if you want to see more of these types of videos, please click the subscribe button now. And I thank you very much for your time and the precious resource of your attention. So until our paths cross again, keep the faith. Bye for now.